we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Carl Franklin. I'm a herpetologist, and I'm also president of Texas Turtles. We're a 501c3, and we're devoted to helping fill a Texas-sized hole in our knowledge of turtles here in the Lone Star State. And slide. And one of the things that I got to think about whenever you guys ask me, for the Rio Grande Valley master naturalist, is I like Texas a lot, and I'm sure you guys do too. Uh, we were kind of close to not having a Rio Grande Valley component of the state of Texas, but it was resolved after the Battle of San Jacinto. Whenever Sam Houston went ahead and got Santa Ana to concede that Texas would begin its border boundary with Mexico there at the Rio Grande or Rio Bravo, depending on which side of the river you're on. Prior to that, Santa Ana first said, well, how about the Rio Nueces? And I got to tell you, I'm glad that Houston stuck to his guns. So slide, please. So what we can do is we can all owe a bit of gratitude to Sam Houston. Tip your hat next time you see the second tallest statue in the state of Texas on I-45. That right there, without those intervening things, it would probably be the Nueces Valley Master Naturalist Group instead of the RGV. Slide, please. So as I kind of started to say that little bit of introduction on us, we are a nonprofit group devoted towards establishing a better understanding of the science and the ecology and biology and conservation and natural history of turtles here in Texas. Our work focuses mainly on the terrestrial and freshwater species here. We do have a little bit of involvement with the marine turtles. Our Secretary Sal Sabetta has been involved for years with the Kemp Ridley's project down there on the coast. And it's just pretty much like for a lot of people, you wouldn't mind doing sea turtle work, but we're not really close to the sea. And which doesn't hurt us that bad because we're around all this other cool turtle diversity. We're a small group. It consists of myself and Viviana, our vice president, Sal Sabetta, our secretary, and Heather Lowe is our treasurer. And boy, we really had a very busy and productive past few years. Slide, please. And so one of the things is that you think about like, well, what good is that slide we're on now? Okay. So why turtles? And they're important. They're important components of the ecology of all the habitats that they're found in. And every bit that they do. One of the things, of course, we lament whenever we see turtle nests that are raided by raccoons and predators and things like that. And we think about the turtles that don't get to live or anything. But what we often fail to recognize is how much energy turtles contribute back into the environment, even if it's just with their eggs. And about 80%, 85% of those eggs are going to be consumed by other predators. Then you have all these babies, or the way a lot of parts of nature look at them, little bundles of energy and nutrition. And so about 80, 85% of the babies will never survive hatching. And I'm not saying there's a guarantee that 15% even make it to adulthood. But that's one of the things right there to give you an idea of the challenge that turtles have, why we need every turtle that we do have in the environment needs to remain there. And these are long-lived vertebrates. And just very simple, one of the trends with long-lived vertebrates is that they take a good long time to reach sexual maturity. And so you have this really high investment cost on offspring. Slide, please. The threats that we've got to, I think we missed a slide. Could you go back a couple, Viviana? There you go. That's it. Nope. Nope. There you go. So just to give you a little bit of extra insight about ourselves, there's a saying amongst us nerds that if you ain't publishing this stuff, it's just a hobby. And one of the ways that we really want to be able to contribute to the fabric of the body of knowledge with turtles here in Texas is by contributing to the scientific on that level. And so we make numerous publications every year into peer-reviewed journals. Up there in the corner is one of them that was in the Urban Naturalist. We've got a few manuscripts right now in Southeastern Naturalist. We've got a multitude of them that have gone through herpetological review, which is a specific journal for herpetology. And we conduct long-term monitoring studies of turtles throughout the state of Texas. Various educational outreach whenever our schedules allow it, and the pandemic kind of got in the way of that. But we also do lots and lots of visual observations as well. And so our hands are in a lot of different pies, so to speak. My background is from academics. I was a herpetologist at UT Arlington, and we had one of the most active herpetology programs in the world going on over there. And so for me, I really enjoy being able to do this. Sal has a background as well. He's retired from the military, and he's also got a strong background with zoos. Heather also is involved on numerous levels, as all of us are, but more specifically, she was active with fundraising and treasury work with the Fort Worth Zoo and other conservation organizations. So we're really delighted to be able to do everything that we do. And now that I got some of the boring formality stuff, I think, out of the way, we can get on to some more of the fun. Slide, please. Okay, so this is some of the work that we do whenever we get out there. One of the things is that you gotta record your data. As you guys know, I don't care how good your memory is, you ain't going to remember what you need to remember 5 minutes later. So maybe I'm just judging myself too much. I gotta write it down if I want to remember anything at all. So of course we're taking numerous data points whenever we catch turtles, and this is all what we do to learn more about the private lives of these animals. If you look up there on the left-hand side of the screen, that's some basic body measurements and weights and dimensions that are being recorded. The way that we mark turtles, there's a notching system that we use, and if you see the diagram of the shell there, it gives you the numeric value of the marginal scutes that are on that turtle shell. The specimen being measured there with the calipers, that's a basic instrument used for getting the measurements of the turtles done. Down in the lower left-hand corner there, those are pit tags, passive integrated transponders. That's what your vet will put in your dog or kitty cat whenever you go to get it microchipped. We use the same thing, that as well as marking with the shell notching gives us two ways to identify the turtles. Should something happen and a pit tag wiggle out of that animal, or let's say it got injured or hurt and it lost it, well, then the shell marking would be there. If a raccoon or something grabbed a hold of that turtle and gnawed on the edge of the shell, well, the pit tag would be there. So we use numerous methods for capturing the turtles. One is just good old-fashioned by hand or scooping them out with a net. The other is using baited hoop traps, like what you see there in the lower center. Those are hoop traps, and the turtles, it's a basic design like a crayfish trap or minnow trap. Turtles swim in, and they come in there, and then it's not really that easy for them to get out. But the traps are set above the water. I'm sorry, let me back up. They're set with about this much sticking out of the water. And what that does is it allows the turtles to breathe until they're taken out. Over there in the far right lower corner, that is a pit tag reader. And that's what we use to scan the turtles to see if we've gotten a recapture. Next slide, please. One of the things that I like doing is I like setting people off on the wrong foot, especially young folks. If I get young people down into the pathway of poverty and fun like I did, then teasing. I want everybody to be doing well, but poverty and fun can go well hand in hand together, especially if you're a herpetologist. But one of the things that's really nice to see is these kids, these youngsters. Next slide, please. Look at them two boys. Those two boys fought over the opportunity to release those animals. And next slide. The previous slide and this slide right here were both taken after a two-day turtle survey event at Banworth Park. And I bet you I'm talking to a group of people that know Banworth Park pretty well. And one of the things I can say about that spot is that it is, and if you probably know this already, if you've been there, it is just choked with turtles. The other thing is that little pond has been, I think every turtle that's there has been dropped off there. A lot of folks with wayward animals and stuff and everything. We'll talk about the diversity of turtles that are found there in a moment, but it's also filled with lots and lots of fish. I was really surprised. I just ran a net through it and I pulled up a dip net just full of shad. And the turtles were really, really abundant. And here are a few young enthusiasts that were so excited and wanted to be a part of releasing the turtles. Little things like this make a lifetime impact on these people. And however many people we can draw into the turtle cult, we're all about it. Just like you guys, anything biophilic threads are easy to recognize, and they help make up a common fabric amongst us all. Next slide, please. So Texas can boast a really good diversity of turtles. I'm not going to go into all of these due to time as well as due to the regional topic tonight. But here in Texas, we have approximately half of the diversity of turtles from the entire United States. Alabama is number one. Then Texas and Florida are kind of both neck and neck for number two as far as who has the highest amount of diversity of turtles. Slide, please. So the first one I'm going to talk about is one that probably all you guys are familiar with. And if you're not familiar with this species, then I'm glad you're a master naturalist because you're going to use this talk is going to help you a lot. The red-eared slider. This is a species that is native to Texas. Slide, please. And it's one that's also been, put throughout the pet trade for decades and decades and decades. The red-eared slider is actually listed among the top 10 most dangerous invasive species on planet Earth. And that's just because they're really, really good at adapting and surviving. And this one right here is from the state park there in Brownsville, Llano Estero. I always get that mixed up. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, if it's Estero Llano or Llano Estero. Forgive me for that. But that's a female specimen of a red-eared slider from there. Slide, please. Oops, my bad. Weslaco, not Brownsville. You know me, some guy from DFW. It just all blends together. This right here, these are some seeds that were found on one of the red-eared sliders from that very state park. And the thing is that this is one of the ways that turtles do impact their environment. This is one way that seeds can get transported from spot to spot. And that's just for being attached to the bryophytic growth on the shell of the turtle. And even if we were to go deeper into this growth on the turtle shell, we would see a variety of diatoms and other unicellular life and all that's there. But the seed part of it is really interesting to me. And so it's not just these turtles eating plants and then defecating seeds into the environment. they're working like walking Velcro almost and catching things onto them. We even saw a box turtle up here around Dallas that in its armpit had an acorn stuck in it. So they have even the most passive ways of impacting local ecology. Slide, please. One of the things that I'll bring up is that the area, now this is not Weslaco, this one here is Brownsville, as that those Rusacas there, especially the ones in Brownsville, they can hold a diversity of turtles that are not native to Texas. And this is one such example right here. The specimen you see in the center of the photo right there, that big female with her chin up and those yellow stripes, that is a variety of slider, but it's one that is native to Mexico and not Texas. So there are 3 red-eared sliders there. And then there is one of the Mexican sliders there as well. And I'll go ahead and tell you guys where that's located. It is located in that Resaca that's right behind the Gladys Porter Zoo. There's a cemetery close by, and you know, I mean, it's what it is, you know. But I've been noticing that turtle there. A friend of mine down there, Miss Myra Oyavides, turned me on to that turtle, and boy, she holds court on that log every day. And so we're anxious to get down there at the chance to go ahead and capture her, confirm the ID, release her back. But just wanted to point that out. And one of the easy ideas for why we find some of these diversities of turtles there in Brownsville is because, you know, turtles are very portable animals. It's also something that a lot of folks of all the reptiles, I think they receive the highest amount of sympathy and praise. And so people typically, they don't want to hurt the turtle or anything. They think, oh, we'll just turn it loose. And so that's how that wound up there, just like the multitude of turtles there at Banworth. Slide, please. Hello, can we get a slide? There you go. Okay, this is just a close-up of the female shown earlier. And as you notice there, the red has long since faded away, but this is a different species of Trachemes. Trachemes scripta elegans is the red-eared slider that's here. This is a different one. Slide, please. This right here is one of the ones from Banworth, but it is a native to the Rio Grande population and genetics. And one of the things I like about this one is it shows a really good example of what a Rio Grande phase of the red-eared slider looks like. They've got these really prominent yellow, and a lot of what's turned loose from the pet trade is not from here. And even though it's the same species, I'll show you guys how to tell the difference. Slide, please. This right here is this is what is known as a melanistic male. Whenever males reach the size of mature females in their population, they start to really darken up. This one is just, I mean, almost as pitch black as coal, and a very stunning example of the melanism. Slide. This one right here is another non-native. This is the Mesoamerican slider, Trachemes venusta. And these guys right here, they've been sold in pet stores and all. And one thing I haven't done yet is I've been meaning to do this, but schedule and pandemic and all kind of got in the way. I just want to go cross over and get a taxi and hit all the pulgas and tianguis on the other side of the border to see what species of turtles they're selling there for pets. This one right here is one that I don't know where they would have gotten it from. It could have been wild caught or whatnot, but we have seen a few of these show up from time to time right there in the Rio Grande Valley. Another non-native species of slider. Here's a stunning example of a female native. Once again, you can see how those bold yellow lines in her shell. That's one of the characteristics that really makes the Rio Grande phase of red-eared slider stand out and really be beautiful. Slide. Just another view of a native variety of the red-eared slider. Slide. Here's an example of some that are not native. These are also at Banworth, and these are animals here that are old pets. One of the ways we can tell that they're old pets is the artifact of growth. If you look at the one on the far right, and you see how the shell has got that kind of, it doesn't quite meet the same shape and all of the other two. That's one that was kept indoors in an aquarium and not provided with the correct light and UV exposure, and there might have been some diet compromise. But those are what we refer to as artifacts of captivity that you can see in these turtles whenever they're in places where they're not supposed to be. Slide. And here's how red-eared sliders get made. Unfortunately, we're looking at the what very well could be a non-native red-eared slider courtship with a native female. And the way the courtship is played out is that males have these really long fingernails. And what they do with those is they use those fingernails to excite and titillate the female. And the way that they do that, I will demonstrate. They will swim around. They first determine that it's a female. And then they swim around and they get to where they can face each other. And the males, it's all in the wrist. Okay? So if you want to learn courtship techniques from a red-eared slider, the finesse is here. And what they do is they swim up and they take those long fingernails and they strum the water just right next to her ears. And that's very white to female red-eared sliders. And then copulation occurs while they're swimming. And it might last 10 minutes tops for these guys, and they might come back for round two and all. But if you ever see two turtles, two red-eared sliders facing each other, and one doing that next to the ears, that's courtship. Slide, please. Here's some more typical examples of melanistic male red-eared sliders, just in case you guys ever get the question, what kind of turtle is this? We've had people ask us that. It never ends. So we have a handy infographic. Slide, please. And here you go. So we had to create this just to kind of show multiple varieties of melanistic male red-eared sliders. And this is, if you guys want, this is available. Our Facebook group, Texas Turtles, you search melanistic, you'll come up with this, or we could provide you with this. You feel free to rip it off from the internet where you might see it and use it for your own. Slide, please. This is an example of a non-native species of turtle, and this is the eastern river cooter. It's another one of the pets, the wayward turtles that wound up in what I call the island of misfit turtles, which is known as Banworth Park. Slide, please. So it's not all Banworth, okay? I don't want you to think that I just go there and take it easy and have a picnic and go and look at the turtles and feed the little ducks and stuff and all. Actually, I've spent a fair amount of time getting right on the river's edge. And due to certain political and so forth trends, that can become more and more of a challenge. So with the assistance of a friend of mine, we had the perfect vehicle to do this trek, and it was that Nissan Altima right there. And so what we did is we had permission from the landowners, and this is all agricultural land, and we just got on the little dirt road and followed it. And these dirt roads, you can see a lot of these from Google Earth. They'll take you to some good places to look for turtles. Slide, please. How about the other side of the border wall? So you can't really, this wall gets in the way of seeing a lot of wildlife. And so we decided we needed to drive around it to do that. The reason why I was doing this is I was sponsored by the state for a while to do surveys on another species of turtle and that I'll be talking about tonight. But getting on the other side of the wall to check out the river was just paramount to being able to accomplish it. And we were able to do that through landowner access. Slide, please. And the species I'm going to go into next is the spiny softshell turtle. The map up there in the upper right-hand corner, that is a county map, distribution map, showing the counties in which spiny softshell turtles have been documented in Texas. The ones in the green, that is the variety of spiny softshell that is in the Rio Grande Valley, the Texas spiny softshell turtle. And of all the varieties of spiny softshells, some of the rules hold the same. Females are way larger than males, and you can see from the photographs there. If you see on the right-hand side, one of the things that I'd like to point out is, even though he's a lot smaller than her, you can notice that that tail is really a lot bigger than hers. That's because the tail is where the male turtles house their phallus. And also, whenever there's that much size difference, it helps to be able to reach the goal, so to speak. And once again, these guys will copulate while swimming. And so the males have to be, for one other way of looking at it, kind of like just a orbiting satellite for depositing sperm, if you will. Slide, please. Slide. Well, while we're waiting, one of the things about softshell turtles is that for a while they were being trapped and sold to the food trade. And up until 2008, 2007, up until 2007, there was no limit on the quantity of turtles you could catch and or sell from the wild in Texas. And there was one guy who was leading the operation. And for a handful of years, he was exporting around 2,500 to 5,000 pounds of live turtles caught from our waters here in Texas indiscriminately, and they were all being shipped over to Asia. Most were going to China, some were going to Hong Kong, and those were being sent over for food, including beautiful specimens of softshell turtles, such as this Texas spiny softshell, this big female right here. And so they eliminated the ability to buy or any commercial trade with all but 4 kinds. And that fortunately was stopped in 2018. So now finally, the commercial trade of our native turtles here in Texas is banned. And had that not been the case, it would be so much more difficult to learn about these animals, because what guarantee are you going to have that a population will even be present if people are knowing they can make money selling them to this guy? And so the other part of it is that we weren't comfortable really talking about where things were at until the ban was initiated. And I sure am glad of that. Slide, please. So softshell turtles are practically, for the most part, entirely aquatic. They'll come out and bask. You might find them crossing the road from time to time. Their eggs are laid on land and all, but these are primarily aquatic turtles. They get their name because of their leathery-like disc of a shell that they have, which is more fleshy than it is with the hard keratinized shell that most turtles have. And one of the things too is that these guys can experience desiccation. They can dry out at a much faster rate than turtles that have a typical hard shell. And when you see these really big, large ones, once again, I got to bring it home that these are the females that you're seeing. Slide, please. They're also the only type of turtle known to have lips. But one of the things before I talk about this slide, I got to mention the lips. Whenever you see a soft-shell turtle, you'll notice, there you go, those big orange pouty lips that she's got there. And I don't know the exact function of them. They don't kiss each other. They can't whistle. But whenever they eat and they project their head out, they strike and lunge their neck out at a tremendous rate of speed. And I bet you that they could be useful in enhancing the capture of prey by just simply opening up and increasing that area of the mouth. Other than that, I don't really know what function those big droopy lips would have on them. Slide, please. They're extremely tough turtles. One of the things is that turtles are noted for their survivability. This is an adult female spiny softshell turtle from a study site we've got here in North Texas in Tarrant County. And this one right here had her leg bitten off by an alligator snapping turtle. And one of the things I like to point out is if you notice the two bones that are there, the tibula and fibula, the extremities of those are present in the wound. If you also take a closer look at the rest of the trauma that she survived, all of that flesh had been ripped away. That was all happened during the predatory attempt. This animal not only ate an entire tilapia that was hanging in a trap for bait, but it had every bit of vigor and kick and salt and vinegar to its spirit that any four-legged female spiny softshell would have. And I just saw a question there in the corner. I put my glasses on. If I ain't got these glasses on, I'm just trying to look good for you folks.
Yeah, we got a few questions. I can read them off to you.
Yeah, what was the question?
The most recent ones were, what defense mechanisms do soft-shelled turtles have since they're soft? And are they extra vulnerable?
Really, they're jerks, okay? They're among the biggest jerks of the turtles. I mean it. They bite, and they bite all the time at everything. They can fly like aquatic F-16s. They're like fighter jets in the water. And so they're really fast. In fact, hand capturing a soft-shelled turtle, if you just got on your fins and you're diving for turtles, that is the, you get the gold star for the day if you can hand capture one of these, because man, they are quick. So those are that's what they rely on, pugnacious attitude and an ability to escape. So as you can see here, this is an image of them from just south of the border wall there in Hidalgo County. And they're sharing a basking site with a couple of other familiar faces in the Rio Grande, a couple of red-eared sliders. Slide, please. Here's a couple of females that were out catching some rays alongside the river as well. And one of the things I got to tell you guys is that a lot of these photographs that you're seeing, we get these photos while standing back at least 200 yards in most instances, sometimes farther. But I'd say maybe 100 yards could be the closest we can get to some, because they've got really good visual acuity and they can spot movement on the horizon, and anything that's out of their norm, they will just hit the water. I saw that question there about the border wall. Does any of that affect their survivability? I don't think it affects the survivability per se of the aquatic species, but I have heard some anecdotal stories about a good number of tortoises that were drowned and killed alongside the border wall. So that's one risk that I'm aware of. Right here, this is once again my friend out there, Myra Oyavides, shared this photo with me. One night she was out driving the roads outside of Edinburgh and looking for snakes and other little bichos. And then what happened? The pitter patter of lots of little feet. A bunch of baby Texas spiny softshells were hatching out, and they did so under the cover of darkness. And they happened to be crossing the road that she was driving down, so she moved them to the other side, which is usually the best thing to do whenever you see a turtle crossing the road. But here's some of those babies. Slide, please. And this is one of them, a ventral perspective or a view of the plastron. And then the next slide is a detail of the head. All right. And if you guys ever get out to Balmorhea, the state park out there, and if you want to see some Texas spiny softshells in an environment that's really cool with lots of good visibility, get out to Balmorhea. If you've never gone scuba diving, hey, that's your chance right there. If you just want to look, then the little pools and streams they have around there, these turtles, boy, they hold court with a lot of people enjoying watching them. Slide. Another one from Balmorhea. I just couldn't resist showing these pretty girls. All right. This species of turtle is one that's it's in the Rio Grande Valley proper. The way that I define that, maybe I should have started at the beginning, but I look at the Rio Grande Valley proper as Cameron County, Hidalgo County, and Starr County. And this is a species of turtle that at one time was found in Cameron County. Recent survey work had only shown trace amounts of its DNA in the river in Hidalgo County. And I never saw any myself in Cameron or Hidalgo. But if you go to Salineno in Starr County, and I can't imagine you guys not being familiar with Salineno in Starr County, the famous bird watching place. That's a spot where most of the turtles that you see basking on the rocks out there are the Rio Grande cooter. This is a baby from Fort Clark Springs, just a little ways north of you guys. Slide, please. So here's the range of these turtles. And if you look down there, you can see the three counties of the Rio Grande. However, one thing I like to point out is that this is actually a historic distribution map, because up there around Culberson County and kind of right there in the corner of the panhandle of Texas, those waters right now are just completely trashed. And so much water has been used in conjunction with mining operations and agriculture that the water table and the springs have been depleted out there. And so the salinity in what was one point a Permian seabed, all that salt is still there. And so the salinity went through the roof and a lot of the diversity is gone. We've lost out on a lot of the plant diversity, fish, all the other animals for the most part. So if you ever get a chance to stop at the Pecos River where it crosses, say, Interstate 10 or so, it's really depressing. I don't like it there because all of those turtles that were in the Pecos on that part are no longer there. South of the interstate, the conditions begin better, and the Rio Grande cooter can be found in the Pecos. South of there, Devil's River, and of course in a lot of the Rio Grande. In Mexico, it ranges in the Coahuila, I believe Chihuahua a little bit, and historically went into Tamaulipas. Slide, please. Oh, this is an adult male. Slide. And whenever the males get older, they go through another color shift where they start to darken up on top of their shell. But one of the things that happens is that their limbs, their appendages, and all, they start to get this really bright red or orange. And that's something that we've noticed with a lot of populations of cooters. We have 3 species of cooter. The Rio Grande cooter is the one we're discussing here, and it does it as well. This is a female specimen of the Rio Grande cooter. And unlike the male, they don't exhibit those bright oranges or red. Slide, please. Here's a gregarious bunch of them. And, you know, one of the things is that a lot of people who enjoy reptiles and amphibians, they get tired of dealing with Border Patrol, because a lot of fans of herpetology might be driving roads looking for snakes or other animals after dark. And so that's, you know, driving slow on remote roads is one way to get the attention of Border Patrol. And when I was out doing visual surveys for this species in Texas, I thought it was just hilarious that one of the best places I could find them, at least with this, was at the international crossings, where there happened to be a lot of presence of law enforcement and everything else. This is right next to the bridge that connects, I believe it's Coahuila in Texas from Eagle Pass. So they are there in force. And the one right in the middle is an example of one of these old males that whenever they get large and stuff, they start to go through that color shift and all. This is a rather gregarious species. All the species, except for one we're going to show, or a couple, are fairly gregarious with one another, and you can find them often basking together. Turtles are best described as omnivores. Some have more of a leniency towards eating animal prey. Soft-shell turtles are one of those. This one right here and the red-eared sliders are definite omnivores. Adult cooters tend to show a preference for plants, and cooters also have a pretty high microbial diversity in their gut for breaking down cellulose walls in plant fibers. Slide, please. Here's another example of a dark male Rio Grande cooter from Eagle Pass. Got some in here from Salinino coming on. And there's our friends with the migra. Slide, please. So right here, if you go to Salinino, and I'm going to be embarrassed for you guys if a good chunk of y'all watching this have not been to this spot. It's a really, really cool place to go to. And if you look out, if you park your vehicle this is from the end of the road, look out at the rocks, okay? Next slide, please. And where the arrow is pointing, there were those Rio Grande sliders right there. The cameras that we use, this was taken with the Nikon P900, but we've upgraded to the P1000. There is no compromising what kind of camera standard we want to use on invading the private lives of turtles or even birds. You know, I heard that there's actually people that like to look at those animals, and I can't imagine if they like it not having a camera like the P1000 to do it with. It's all in the same box, so you're not switching around lenses or anything like that. This camera is great. You can zoom in to the craters of the moon. It has the equivalent of a 3,000 millimeter lens. So unless you find a lens that's 9 feet long, you're not going to beat this camera. Slide, please. Let me see that question there. Oh, I got about 20 minutes. Perfect. Moving on to the terrestrial turtle in the area. the Texas tortoise, the only tortoise native to Texas and the smallest species here in North America. And if you look on the map there, the red shows what we believe to be part of the native ranges of these turtles. The yellow, the greens are the ones that are clearly outside of what we know of as being the native ranges and have been documented by a solitary example. I will tell you this, the red dots in the that are isolated over to the right, those are suspect because I know the guy that made the map. So, but at any rate, moving right along. Slide, please. There's a lot of hazards that these tortoises face. We need as many of these in the wild as possible. They need to stay put wherever they can. If you know of a landowner that has them, then that is a wonderful animal to consider working with. They are listed as protected here in Texas. So to do anything regarding them would require permits from the state of Texas. This right here, I wanted to show you one of the perils that adult Texas tortoises face. We were driving along a couple of years ago out looking for them. And unfortunately, the first one we saw was this one right here, and it was stuck in a deer fence where it met its demise. So deer fences are bad for adult Texas tortoises. Slide. However, automobiles are probably like the leading cause of losing out on them. If you ever find a shell of one and you see these strange holes in the back of the shell, or even for that matter, any turtle shell, and you find like a pair of fairly symmetrically placed holes, there's an explanation for that. And this one right here shows it really well. This is a tortoise shell that we collected in Coahuila, Mexico on an official scientific expedition. And those are some of the hip bones that it's an artifact of growth and life with some turtles that they'll actually begin to wear holes in their carapace due to the movement over the years of those points on the bones themselves. Slide, please. Here's a photograph provided to us by a really cool guy, Clint Guardiana, who's a keeper out at Gladys Porter Zoo Reptile Department. And they have an affinity for eating the tunas or the prickly pear fruit, like a lot of things do. And that's why this one right here has its face somewhat stained pinkish. However, notice the shell. It's got the pale spots, and you can go to the next slide. It continues onto this topic. There is a fungus that it eats keratin, and it has been well documented and studied, and it's present in certain populations of Texas tortoises. And this is contagious from tortoise to tortoise. It's not known to be fatal to the tortoise, but one thing to do realize is that the keratin that is over that bony surface of the shell helps protect the turtle from desiccation, and it's an extra barrier in its own integument and defense that's built in. So it's not something that we want to see on the tortoises. And here's a ventral view of the same one to show the extent of how much keratin had been eaten away by this fungus. And so that's why it's important. Anybody working with these tortoises, if you come into contact with one that has this, that looks like this, don't touch any other tortoise or anything. In fact, I would encourage you to wash your hands and sanitize them very well, because your fingernails are also made of keratin. So I don't think the fungus knows the difference. Slide, please. One of the things that happened to Texas tortoises is that there was a vast amount of commercialization of them here in Texas. And that's unfortunate. This is from an article written in the 1960s. A buddy of mine was actually one of the first reptile keepers at the Fort Worth Zoo in 1955. And he went to this place just out, it used to be just outside Laredo. And the fellow that sold the tortoises there, he'd sell them to whoever for whatever. And the house that they had was just filled with them. And what they did is they let all the females wander around the front yard to lay eggs so that they could pick up the babies and sell the babies to pet stores. And one of the surprising uses of these tortoises was in Texas, that there was a lady who was an actress. I believe her first name was Polly. I think her last name was Bergman, Polly Bergman. And she had her own cosmetic line. And yep, she took the tortoises and they would kill them. They would take the shells and render them down and use that as an ingredient in her skin cream. So Miss Polly Bergman had her skin cream that contained oil from real Texas tortoises. And that operation, it didn't last too long. There's a supply part to this demand. And fortunately, this is something that went a ways towards helping protect our tortoises in Texas. We're not out of the woods yet. I don't know how long it'll be to ever recover the sheer numbers. I've seen them in some spots with some frequency, but I don't think that I've ever witnessed them, and I don't know if many people that can say that they've witnessed them the way that they were when these animal dealers were around. Thousands and thousands of tortoises is what was described to me, and even when this guy was starting to close down his operations, he had multiple 20-foot diameter galvanized steel tubs. A friend of mine who's in his 70s now went there in 1970, and it was just starting to wind out the sale of these tortoises, but just still in these 20-foot tubs, all of them. Anyway, moving right along. Let's continue, shall we? The next slide is of something hopeful, and it was a baby Texas tortoise. You get that slide, please? There we go. And this was one that I got to go see with a couple of friends of mine at the Butterfly Center out there. And so it sure is a shame with all the heat that place has gotten out of just all this misdirected politics. But fingers crossed that the native tortoises that have reproduced there and stuff, that those babies are still doing okay. Slide. So one that you guys will probably come across, this is a very widespread species of turtle, but it is not found in the river. If it is, it's just a fluke occurrence. These guys are found in stock tanks. They might get into some of the resacas, but I haven't caught them yet in resacas out there. I've only caught them in just cattle tanks. It's the yellow mud turtle. In these turtles are adapted to spend about half the year on land and half in the water. The range map there on the far right shows just how widespread they are. For the western counties that don't have red on them yet, well, that probably means that we just got some stock tanks still to go and sample from and all. But this is a species of turtle that's well adapted for spending time on land as well. It's got a lot of fat reserves. It has the lowest amount of evaporative water loss of species of turtle, of other mud turtles. Slide, please. And this is one also that has a hinge on its shell and can close its shell up. Here's a male specimen we encountered a couple of years ago, just north of you guys up in Frio County. Slide, please. And you can see that hinge right there on the left. And one of the things, if you look at the fingers that are holding this shell, just next to where the fingers are on the inside of the carapace, there are these little glands called Wraith glands. And that's what releases this really powerful, pungent musk. Also on the right-hand slide there, we'll see if Viviana can point to it. There is one scoot, and you see where the cursor is pointing right there. That scoop sticking up above all the others is another indicator you can use to identify the turtle in question as a yellow mud turtle. Slide, please. And so one of the things that we discovered, and this was also submitted into press, and we're hoping that it's going to be published soon, there is a potential for an allergic reaction to the musk from these turtles. And this was discovered the hard way by our very own Viviana Ricardes. And within just a matter of seconds, she picked up the turtle. You saw it there in her hand. She wasn't licking it or anything like that. And she was holding it, looking at it, set it back on the ground. We take some photos and stuff. And then she gets in the truck, and according to her, and I was sitting there next to her, she may have gone like this. But with some of these things that animals release, you can have trace amounts still cause some major aggravation. And this poor lady suffered while we were lost on a maze of muddy back roads in Frio County until we could get someplace and get some relief for her. Her eye swelled up, the eyeball swelled shut. In fact, at one point, she broke out with this rash of hives on her arms and everything. Prior to this, the only, the worst I had ever gotten from anybody riding with me and we make contact with a yellow mud turtle was just how horrible it smelled. But at any rate, this is a potential. So if you're working with this species of turtle, you might just want to put on some rubber gloves just to be on the safe side. Slide, please. So if you guys have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us. We have a presence on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And of course, how could we be Texas Turtles and not have an iNaturalist presence? And what I think is cool is that I think we're around 1,400 some odd. I know it's somewhat modest on iNat. And Texas Turtles, right now, if you were to pull up our general map, as the map is populating, the dots almost create the shape of Texas. So we've only got 1,400 plus records on iNat, and that's for, we're talking like 32 species statewide. So we really want to choke it up, man. We enjoy seeing dots light up in places where we haven't had them before. But were there some other questions? I think there might have been some that I just saw as a blur there on the screen.
Yeah, I can read them to you.
Sure.
One of them was about do you use iNaturalist? So obviously you do.
Yes.
And anybody around you see everybody's records around the state input into your group?
With our group, it's pretty much just us, and that's fine, and there's a lot of other iNatters that are out there doing their own thing. And I think that the more the merrier, so there's that aspect of it.
Okay, and then we had from earlier, is there anything done with invasive turtle species?
Right now, really, no. We don't have, here in Texas, I can say that we really don't. In some states, like out in Arizona, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, red-eared sliders and snapping turtles and even soft-shell turtles, they're euthanized. And they have some native species of turtles out there that they want to have stable. And so they don't have any tolerance for these interlopers or newbies, if you will.
And what's like is there a difference between what you would consider invasive and non-native, or are the non-natives really a problem, or?
Yeah, in some places they can be, I mean, like if you look at species like the western pond turtle, it's thought that the red-eared slider has been able to outcompete it in some of the places. There's even species of turtles in Japan and Indonesia that have just been whooped. One of the things about red-eared sliders is they're kind of like the Hell's Angels of turtles. You know, you see that little slider at the pet store, but they are so good at survival that they will at the expense of any other turtle around them. And then they'll also be aggressively antagonistic towards those. So even though, you know, they're native here in Texas, but we just want to be able, you know, everything within its own place is able to maintain into the proper harmony.
I mean, we had instead of euthanizing them, why don't the other states send the turtles back to Texas?
No, we don't know if they came here from here. See, Louisiana, they got these turtle farms and they ship out millions of turtles globally. And I think that's terrible. And one, we don't know if the turtles even came from here to begin with. Red-eared sliders have a broad range throughout the United States, but it's in the eastern half of the U.S. where the sliders are native. So they could have come from anywhere. And then you could have the pet stores and all the pulgas and tianguis and everything there as well in those states. You know, you have turtles that are being released, and they're you could trace their genetics for a lot of them back to Louisiana turtle farms.
And
So
how long can turtles stay underwater?
Oh, how long can they stay? It depends on the species. You know, we've watched a number of them stay under for 20 to 30 minutes at a time, and they can do it longer in colder waters or depending on the level of oxygen present there.
And they asked on your picture on the Facebook with you holding a giant snapping turtle, where did you take that?
Arlington, Texas. And that's one of the things that just really blew our mind. That as a herpetologist, I spent a lot of my career going far away, distant places in the tropics around the world, and we were very, very successful at discovering hundreds of new species of amphibians and reptiles. But I got to tell you, knowing that now we're just in the past 3 years, 4 years, been studying these behemoths that are apex animals living in a river and a study site that's 5 miles from my house, as opposed to, on the side of the equator or whatever. I'll take it. So just wanted to bring that up because that's something right there that level of discovery is still present and available. And right now, turtles being a common type of animal, we have to study them and do as much as we can while they're still common.
Okay, and last question is there a good handy field guide for turtles that you can recommend?
Yeah, it's called texasturtles.org. is an excellent source. There's also there's a pamphlet style field guide that I published, or my field guide was published, and it used to be at the impulse section at HEB grocery stores and finer booksellers all over, as well as state parks. There's another book, The Turtles and Crocodilians of Texas, and that one is okay. It has range maps and so forth and all. And I use the term okay because one of the challenges with books is being able to get the cost of all the photos you want. And so that you might not have, with that book, you might not have a photograph of the baby and the female and the male and everything. But the book I'm working on right now, The Turtle Life of Texas, will be more than an exhaustive volume on the topic.
I've got a question.
Okay.
They allow the harvest of 4 species in Texas,
No, that stopped.
Oh, it stopped. Okay.
Stopped in 2018.
What
What they did,
parts,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
what parts did people eat? Because it doesn't seem like there's much to them or whatever.
Right. Well, with a lot of the turtles, what they would do is, you're correct. You know, there's not a whole wealth of meat. Okay. But one of the things is that from the folks in Asia, the people that were buying these turtles up, is that one thing to know is that there are more than 1,400 registered, or close to 14,000 registered turtle farms in China. And these places, they just breed turtles like no one here has ever been able to do. However, the desirability for the flavor of wild-caught turtle is what fueled a lot of that. And so you've got muscle that's on the limbs. You've got some on the neck. You have some that's attached to the underside of the plastron. And with the case of the soft shell turtles, the cartilage in the shells has also been used to help flavor food, soups and all. When I was a boy, my grandfather would use trot lines on the Brazos River, and he lived through the Depression. And so every big soft shell turtle, maybe that's where I got my sympathy for the turtles. Every big soft shell turtle that he caught was brought back home, and it was on the table that night.
Don't say it tastes like chicken.
No, it tasted like turtle. And, you know, I tasted it, and I've eaten a lot of different animals, but it didn't do anything enough for me to where I had to go back to it. And, you know, one of the things with the attitudes with turtles is that still we have so much of a mentality for pets and everything. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. Goes the way of migratory birds, where turtles are afforded protection as well.
Well, we got to let our students take their break between speakers. So thanks a lot for this presentation. It was really good. And we had 18 people watching on Facebook.
All right. Well, hey, I was awesome, and you guys had a great time. TexasTurtles.org. We got some really cool merch. We got the coolest turtle shirts in the universe. No other universe has turtle shirts this good. And this really goes directly towards helping us with the cost of our field work. So thank you guys again. And thank you, Sam Houston, for helping us have a Rio Grande Valley in Texas.
Great job. Thank you.
Y'all have a good night.